Hope Church, we're on our third daily devotion from the Psalms, and it's Wednesday morning. And part of what we'll think about this morning, funny enough, is that you woke up this morning. So there's something to look forward to. Should I read Psalm 3 for us? It'll be important to have a Bible open and follow along. Psalm 3, a psalm of David when he fled from his son Absalom. Lord, how many are my foes, how many rise up against me. Many are saying of me, God will not deliver him. But you, Lord, are a shield around me, my glory, the one who lifts my head high. I call out to the Lord, and he answers me from his holy mountain. I lie down and sleep. I wake again because the Lord sustains me. I will not fear, though tens of thousands assail me on every side. Arise, Lord, deliver me, my God. Strike all my enemies on the jaw, break the teeth of the wicked. From the Lord comes deliverance. May your blessing be on your people. This is the word of the Lord. Well, we've been introduced to two of the most important themes in the Psalms in Psalm 1 and 2. And those themes center around the blessing that comes from obedience to God's law and righteous living in Psalm 1. And Psalm 2, the blessing or happiness that comes from God's King, God being enthroned, ruling from heaven. In Psalm 3, we'll come across another theme that's quite common in the Psalms, though maybe not quite as central to them as the first two, but still important to the Psalms. And that is the psalmist's own experience. The psalmist's own experience of suffering and pain and frustration and opposition, all of which we see throughout the book of Psalms. Look how it starts. Lord, how many are my foes? How many rise up against me? Many are saying of me, God will not deliver him. We read of the personal distress, the personal danger and threat that the psalmist is under. Something intense, something serious. The heading of the psalm tells us something of why. This is a psalm which we can connect to David fleeing away from his son Absalom. And so there's great distress and anguish. But in the midst of this great distress and anguish, look how the psalmist turns to God and realizes and remembers and reminds himself, perhaps we could say sings to himself, some of the great truths of God. Verse 3 through 6, you, God, are a shield around me. Not just a shield in front of me like any conventional shield, but one who protects me on all sides. We sing that great song sometimes in Hope Church, Unge Zunge Zile, which remembers Psalm 139. I've probably butchered that pronunciation dreadfully, so forgive me. But we remember that God is one who is in front of me, behind me, all around me. You're my glory, the one who lifts my head. I call out to the Lord, and he answers me from his holy mountain. His holy mountain is Zion, where we saw yesterday that he has installed his king. I lie down and sleep, verse 5. I wake again because the Lord sustains me. Think about that. You woke up this morning because God sustains you. Of course, you woke up because you breathed all through the night and because your alarm clock went off and because you had enough to eat yesterday and the day before. But beyond all of that, you woke up because of God's sustaining, because he keeps his creation, he keeps you. I will not fear, though tens of thousands assail me on every side. What a statement of trust. What a way to sing of your trust to God, verse 3 to 6. And so, the psalmist here calls on the Lord to rise up, verse 7, to deliver him, and in this case from his opponents by striking them on the jaw, by breaking their teeth. My mom's a dentist, and so I have a great affinity to speaking about teeth and jaws. I can't imagine this being a pleasant experience for the enemies of God's king, the psalmist David, God's king, and for God's enemies. The enemies of God's king and the enemies of God, being struck on the jaw and on the teeth. the psalmist calls on God to do this. Verse 8, from the Lord comes deliverance, may your blessing be on your people. Now I wonder, in our own crisis, which is perhaps not so much about personal opposition, though maybe some of us are facing the crises of personal opposition, but for most of us, our crisis is that we are locked up and imprisoned in our own homes and we're not allowed to go anywhere, and we fear that this virus is going to destroy our economy and may well take people we love. We're scared of that. We have anxiety about it. How can we sing God's trust like the psalmist does in verses 3 to 6? How can we learn to sing about our deep faith in God, who is a shield all around us, who lifts our heads and who sustains us? This is how we can. I'm going to read the psalm again, and you can imagine these as the words of Jesus from the cross. Just think of these as Jesus' prayer from the cross, and it will help us to trust that God has been through something like this and something much more serious, and He has delivered His righteous one before. So imagine these as Jesus' words. Lord, how many are my foes? How many rise up against me? Many are saying of me, God will not deliver him. But you, Lord, are a shield around me, my glory, the one who lifts my head high. I call out to the Lord, and He answers me from His holy mountain. I lie down and sleep. I wake again because the Lord sustains me. I will not fear though tens of thousands assail me on every side. Arise, Lord, deliver me, my God. Strike all my enemies on the jaw. Break the teeth of the wicked. From the Lord comes deliverance. May your blessing be on your people. We can trust God because Jesus has experienced far greater anguish and anxiety and suffering than we have or ever will. And we can trust God because God answered Jesus' prayer from the cross. God raised Him from the dead, and He will raise His people from the dead on the last day. Amen.